Okay, Bismillah. This is a summary of lesson number 3. So the topic of past tense verbs was covered, and in the conjugation table the teacher went through the first 5. So we have those on the left hand side. Now the verb on top, jalasa, means he sat. So always remember the basic form of the verb without anything added to it will always be the third person and masculine, which is he sat. And we said that the doer of the action in this case is inside the verb, although we can't see it, and it will be huwa. Now if we go to the right hand side, it's the same verb used, jalasa. Now after it we have the name Muhammad, and it's marfu'. Remember we said that at the fa'il, the doer of the verb will always be marfu'. So in this case it's got the dhamma, the 2 dhammas, and this will be considered the doer of the action. In this case it's huwa, and we learnt from the last lesson that huwa is also marfu', but it's mabni, and that's why it doesn't take the dhamma at the end, because its form doesn't change and it's inbuilt into the verb, while Muhammad is dhahir, or apparent. Dhahir means you can see it, as opposed to mustatir, which you can't see. Let's get to the next verb. It's jalasa, which means 2 males sat. So it's them 2 sat, and the fa'il, or the doer, is the alif al-muthanna. And one point to note is that the fa'il, or the doer, will always be after the verb. You can't have it before the verb. Either it's inbuilt into the verb or it comes after. Okay, now let's get to the next verb. It's jalasu. Now the waw here is the fa'il, and this verb means they sat. It refers to 3 or more masculine. Now one point to note is we have the alif at the end of it. So the question is, what's the point of having this alif? We're not pronouncing it, and it's not the fa'il, so why is it there? There's 2 names to it. It's either called the alif al-wiqaya, which is the alif of protection, or it's called alif al-fariqa, the alif that separates. So this alif actually protects it, or separates it from another word, and it divides that particular word from the next word. So that was third person masculine, singular, dual, and plural. Now let's get to the feminine. So we only covered the first 2, which was she sat and them both, 2 females, sat. So we have at the end of the verb a ta, which is called ta ta'nith, and that's the for femininity. And similarly here we have ta ta'nith, and after the ta ta'nith we have alif al-muthanna. So similarly for the singular there's the pronoun here that is built into the verb. So this is mustatir inside the verb, so it's hidden. Or you can have a doer that is apparent, dhahir. So jalasat Zainabu. And remember I said that the doer will always be after the verb. So as you can see in this case and that case, the doer is after the verb. Now, can this go in front? It can go in front. They both can go in front of the verb. So when I say they have to be after, and I'm saying, well, it can go in front, wouldn't that be a contradiction? Actually not, because when it goes in front, Muhammad, for example, in this case, Muhammad will be the first word of the sentence. In other words, it will be a jumla ismiya, not a jumla fi'liya. So jumla ismiya only has a mubtada and khabar. So that's just one case. And in this case, for example, if Muhammad went in front, jalasa would be the khabar. We'll explain a bit more about that later on. And one other thing just to note about a jumla fi'liyah, a verbal sentence. All these are considered, so every single one of these these 5 and the rest of them in the sarf table will be considered a complete jumla fi'liyah, a verbal sentence. Now why is that? Because a verbal sentence only requires 2 things at the least, which is the verb and the dua. And just one other point. Now in the word jalasa, we have a dhamma here. So why is there a dhamma? Shouldn't there be a fatha? Because the base form is jalasa. What happens is, when you add the waw at the end of it, because there's a waw, the fatha turns into a dhamma. Because to say jalasawu, it's very difficult on the tongue, and Arabs don't like something that doesn't flow naturally. Jalasu would be much easier to say, and so what happens is it changes to a dhamma. And that's about it, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.